Chapter 19. Forget the flag. Aliana crouched among the brush as a group of Ares kids rushed past. She smirked. That should give the Athena team something to deal with. She crept out of hiding and darted through the trees towards the red team's territory. A heavy-set boy from the Hephaestus cabin emerged from the bushes and stood his ground, a broadsword clutched in his hands. "Where do you think you're going, freak?" Aliana smirked. "Wherever I please." She lunged forward, ducked the swing of his sword, and delivered a solid kick to his shoulder blades. He stumbled forward, bracing himself against a tree so he didn't fall over. Aliana unslung her bow and released an arrow, which pinned the boy to the thick trunk. She fired a second arrow just to be sure he stayed put. Better luck next time. She dashed away, quickly disappearing among the foliage. A Demeter kid tried to halt her progress, but it was simple enough to stick him to a tree. Aliana slid on the rough ground, sweeping the legs out from under a Hermes kid who was going for the flag. He landed flat on his back, knocking the wind out of him. "Stay put." Aliana stepped over the coughing teen and continued through the trees. Something rustled the bushes to her right. Dropping her bow, she drew her sword and whirled to face her target. Her sword clashed loudly with Percy's. "It's about time you showed yourself." "You mean you didn't see me coming?" He pressed hard against her blade. Aliana spun free of the stalemate and held her sword ready, one hand beaten behind her back. "You wish." He came at her again. She ducked his blade and elbowed him in the stomach. He stumbled back. "Oh, come on. I thought we were friends." She stepped forward, batted aside the parry, and rested the tip of her sword against his throat. "There are no friends in Capture the Flag." A light flashed through the trees. They both spun to look. "What was that?" Percy gripped his sword tightly. Aliana stared into the woods. "It looked like it came from..." Her voice trailed off as it clicked. She met Percy's gaze with a look of horror. He seemed to understand. "The stone," they said in unison. Sheathing her sword, Aliana picked up her bow, and they bolted towards the origin of the flash. Aliana skidded to a stop at the edge of the stone circle. The pillar had something resting on top that shined and sparked. Percy trotted up beside her. "Whoa." He fixed his gaze on the bright object. "Is that it?" Aliana watched the stone. "A clear stone that looks like it has a thunderstorm in it?" "Definitely." "How did it get here?" he asked. She tore her gaze from the stone. "Check the perimeter for tracks." They split up, searching the area for any evidence that someone had been there. Aliana examined every leaf, every twig, but couldn't find anything. Whoever had brought the stone here had covered their tracks well. She and Percy met up on the other side of the circle. "Nothing," Percy confirmed. Aliana looked back at the stone. "It's like it just appeared." Percy took a deep step towards the circle. "Well, however it got here, we need to get in." He walked forward. "Percy, wait!" Aliana dove in front of him as his foot touched the stone circle. A bolt of lightning lashed out of the stone on the pillar. It struck Aliana in the chest, sending a jolt of electricity through her body. It felt draining. She stumbled back out of the circle and the lightning retreated. She clutched her chest with her right hand, panting. "Are you okay?" Percy steadied her from behind. "Well, I'm not dead," she rasped, straightening. "But if we walk into that circle to get that stone, we will be." Something snapped in the trees. "We're not alone." Percy held out his sword. "We should go." Aliana gripped her bow a bit tighter. "We have to get the stone," Percy reminded her. They stood back to back. "I'm open to ideas." She pulled an arrow from her quiver and knocked it on the string. "Preferably that doesn't involve throwing a rock at it." Percy closed his mouth. A dark figure crashed out of the bushes. "Hellhound!" Percy warned. Aliana spun and fired her arrow. It whizzed past its target and snapped against the tree trunk. "Did you just... miss?" Percy stared at her with wide eyes. "New plan." Aliana felt the fear creeping into her heart. "Run!" They bolted into the trees, making for camp. The border would protect them. The hellhound followed in close pursuit. "We're going to make it!" Aliana shouted ahead at Percy. Suddenly, she slammed against an invisible barrier. She stumbled back, reaching out, a yellow, sparking energy pressed again back against her hand. "Percy!" She couldn't keep her voice from shaking. He whirled. "What's wrong?" She met his gaze with a look of terror. "It's the border. It won't let me through." The hellhound gained rapidly. Aliana turned with her bow. She shot one arrow, then another. And another. They all missed. Her fourth arrow grazed the monster's face, which only made it angry. She turned away, sheltering her face with her arms as the beast lunged at her. There was a metallic sound, and the hellhound let out a pained roar. She felt dust caressing her cheek. Opening her eyes, she saw Percy standing in front of her with his sword raised, stabbing the air. He turned to face her. "What just happened? I've never seen you miss." Aliana stared at her hands. "That's because I never have." The fragments pieced together in her mind, forming a picture, an impossible, horrifying picture. "No," she breathed. "What?" Percy asked, confused. "Gods, this can't be happening." She covered her face. "What?" Percy pressed, his voice harsher this time. Aliana met his gaze, her hands shaking. "I'm not a half-blood anymore."